Darkcast Network. Welcome to the dark side of podcasting.
Darkcast Network. Come to the dark side of podcasts. We have cookies.
Cookies? Me love cookies.
Hey there, Rainbow Warriors. I'm CJ, host of Beyond the Rainbow, True Crimes of the LGBT. My episodes focus on crimes committed by and against the LGBTQ community. I've covered cases you probably have heard of, such as Matthew Shepard, Brandon Tina, and the Orlando Pulse nightclub massacre, as well as some lesser-known cases like the murder of Ray Hainish, the Australian gay beat murders, and the suspicious disappearance of Lisa Lynn Stone. I cover cases brought to me by listeners like Penny Brummer, who I believe was wrongfully convicted, taboo cases such as lesbian corrective rape and murder in South Africa, and Pray the Gay Away camps. I discuss gay serial killers, women who pretend to be men to hook up with other women, and trans murders. I'm opinionated and uncensored. I know I'm not everyone's cup of tea, but surely I'm someone's shot at tequila. No matter what your gender or orientation in life might be, please join me as I tackle rainbow crimes in search of unicorn justice. Remember, it's not a crime to be gay, unless you're a murderer.
Devil is on his way. Devil is on his way, motherfucker. The devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way. Fall to your knees. Devil gonna make you pay. Fall to your knees. Devil is on his way.
Mountain Murders is an Appalachian true crime podcast. Some content may not be suitable for all listeners. Listener discretion is advised.
We say fuck a lot.
Hey, y'all. Welcome back to Mountain Murders.
I'm Heather.
And I'm Dylan.
Hey.
Oh, my gosh. I got a full belly.
You're pop, locking, and dropping it right here.
Oh, no.
Mountain Murders.
I couldn't pop, lock, nor drop it at the moment.
You might pop.
I wouldn't be able to get back up.
Oh, yeah?
My knees hurt.
You're like the little blueberry girl from Willy Wonka.
Ah, yes.
Gotta like roll you around.
I just had a truly Appalachian experience. I just had a big bowl of beans and cornbread. Yeah.
You had a big bowl of beans and cornbread.
Beans and cornbread.
Beans and cornbread.
And I gotta say,
Is it delicious?
some of the best beans and cornbread I've ever eaten in my life. Okay?
I believe it.
Yeah.
All right, Dylan. Before we get started, we have some lovely folks to thank for sponsoring today's episode.
Oh, my gosh.
These very generous ladies have contributed to patreon.com/Mountain Murders Podcast. They have subscribed and are supporting the show, specifically today's episode. Thanks so much, ladies. We've got Morgan.
Thank you, Morgan.
Mandy. Kim Chickens.
Kim Chickens. Okay, I love it.
And Brandy.
And Brandy. Mandy, Brandy, Kim Chickens, and Morgan.
Yeah.
Okay, thanks. Thanks, gals.
Now, Dylan, do you have anything else to add to the conversation besides smacking your lips and making mouth noises?
I mean, if I can't do...
Okay,
no,
then. Okay.
No, is the
Okay.
answer.
All right, then it's time to get moving and grooving. We have a lot of ground to cover. We're in part 2
Yeah.
of our crazy, wild ride of a story.
Man, these young men...
The Wolves of King Street. And Dylan, I did mention this before, but I got the title The Wolves of King Street because this group of young men had shirts made that said The Wolves of King Street.
Okay.
Because they loved the Wolves of Wall Street.
Well, of course they did. And from their point of view, they're doing the damn thing. And they're kind of taking over, which you got to say they did.
They're the Not So Billionaires Boys Club.
It's the Billionaires Drug Club.
They're not billionaires yet.
But I've been waiting on this part 2 because there was so much went down in the first part. And honestly, it almost felt like a complete episode because, you know, we had the unfortunate incident and all that. And then the cops started, kind of gain knowledge of the network and start taking people down. So I can't wait to see the other information you have for us in part 2.
Well, if you recall last week, we ended on a note where Rob was nervous and he did not want to confront Zachary Kligman about the money that was owed to them or any kind of confrontation about the drugs. And that's when Mikey told him to put on his Ray-Bans.
So do you think Kligman's flexing on them, or do you think he's kind of just pulling away from them because of everything else that's happening?
Well, I know the answer to that, and you're going to find out.
Oh, my God.
Right now.
It's almost like you wrote this story.
When Rob further explained he was scared and they needed protection, Mikey pushed back. He continued urging Rob to confront Kligman over the money. Then Rob offered to pay Mikey from savings. He would do anything to repay the money without confronting a well-connected dealer like Zachary Kligman.
Well, I mean, I kind of agree in this. I kind of agree with Rob in this situation. You've made a ton of money, and the money, the amount at hand is not hundreds of thousands; it's a few thousand, 10,000 or 7,000, whatever. In the big scheme of things, it's not that big a deal. And if you consider the amount of money they've made, it's almost like Rob just wants to. I understand why he's nervous, and I think he has a good reason to be nervous because these guys they're not gangsters, they're not tough guys, and you want me to go basically confront someone over this money who is all the things that we're not.
Exactly.
And I think that I would play it kind of Rob's way, honestly.
After the raid, people didn't want to socialize with Rob. He moved to Cannon Street from the 7 Montague residence. That's when others started texting Mikey about his best friend Rob. They told Mikey, quote, Rob got busted. Mikey didn't believe the rumors and told Rob that people were gossiping about him. He didn't let the paranoid rumors change the way that Mikey saw his best friend. Finally, Rob admitted that they had in fact been raided, but assured Mikey that nothing had happened other than being questioned by police. They didn't have anything on the network.
Well, see, from where I come from, the fact that you didn't come and tell me that I had to hear this around the way, if you will, would make me nervous. Because there's usually only a couple of reasons people don't tell you that they've, been pinched by the cops. And it is one of the reasons is because they're ratting you out to the cops. And they don't want you to know that when it all goes down. They don't want you to know they've had an incident and that now they're a stool pigeon. So as far as I'm concerned, I would be nervous that he didn't come and just tell me himself.
Mikey got secondhand news like he's Lindsey Buckingham.
Well, I got to see on Facebook you got raided. You don't trust me no more, Rob?
Yeah, Mikey was worried about the Kappa Alpha network being exposed, so he decided to search Zachary Kligman's name. He was shocked to find a mugshot of Kligman dated April 2nd, 2016, 20 days before Kligman had made that deal with Rob. The charge was trafficking cocaine.
Oh, my gosh. So he's already been got by the cops, but then he's out making other deals with Rob. And that would have to give you, I think that would give you pause, don't you?
You think?
Like, what is this guy really up to? What
Well, at this point, I'm thinking he's probably wired up, right?
Well, yeah, and now you've been raided, and now all this other stuff's happening. And boom, this could very well be where the source of all these issues.
Mikey immediately texted Rob with this information. Rob reiterated that Zachary Kligman had no idea who the Cocaine Connect was in Atlanta and that Mikey was safe. Mikey grew paranoid, having a mechanic install a combination safe behind his car radio.
Okay.
I mean, he's just like taking, all the steps to protect himself to try to insulate from getting busted.
So he's got stash spots in the car, custom made.
He does. And soon after that, Mikey was pulled over by law enforcement, but they didn't find anything in the car. He was grateful there was no arrest, but texted Rob anyway to warn him that they may be on to us.
If they're listening. Right now they're listening to us, Heather.
Rob was gearing up for graduation from the College of Charleston. He invited Mikey to attend the graduation and also a party that his parents had planned. Rob's family had rented a beach house for the weekend, and they were planning to host like a big sort of seafood boil type of thing.
Yeah.
And Mikey did want to see Rob before he graduated and left for a trip to Asia because Rob had plans. He was just in this drug world for a period. He graduated. His plan was to get out and move on with his life.
So Rob is the stripper who's really going to go to college with that money and make something of themselves.
Yeah, he's fixing to graduate.
Okay.
Right.
No, but I mean, a lot of times he's the outlier. A lot of times people get addicted to the fast money, no matter what it is.
Well, again, Rob's the guy who's driving a 20-year-old vehicle.
Yeah.
His mom's vehicle. He's wearing sweats to class. He's eating peanut butter while these other cats are getting bottle service and eating, filet mignon every night.
Well, just
He's not out flashing.
If Pat
was
doing the same attitude, he wouldn't have been busted with a full set of scales breaking up Coke, a Kia Coke in a car. I mean, that's about as dumb as it gets, Rob would probably never make a move like that, You got to be smart about this stuff.
When Mikey arrived in Charleston, he met with an attorney named Tim Culp. Though he had not retained Culp, during the consultation, Mikey expressed concerns that he might be arrested for cocaine trafficking. Culp told him, quote, "Don't fucking talk to anybody except your family and me."
That's good advice from a lawyer.
Good advice from a high-powered attorney. After the graduation ceremony, Mikey left Charleston. As he was leaving town, he gets pulled over by an unmarked Tahoe. Mikey is taken away in cuffs. And the thing is, this whole time he's in Charleston for this graduation, he's paranoid and feels like he's being watched and followed.
Well, sounds like he might be.
And sure enough,
he's being surveilled.
He gets pulled over, and the fellas who cuff him are actually two plainclothes officers that he had seen that he felt like were men following him.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So at the police station, Mikey is confronted with files filled with details about their weed source, Xanax dealing, money laundering, and cocaine trafficking.
Oh my gosh.
When Culp showed up, detectives played 24 recorded calls from wiretaps and showed texts between Rob and Mikey.
So if you're Mikey at this point, you got to be freaking out because they have it all.
They got the goods.
They already figured it all out. There's not even they're not trying to dig the information out from you. They're just out of you. They're just showing you, hey, look, we have the whole network basically. And at this point, and you know what they start doing then? Who's going to talk first to be state's witness and get this most sweetheart deal?
Well, I think Mikey is quickly realizing that his best friend Rob has turned on him.
Oh my gosh.
To save his own ass.
And that's what happens.
Mikey was given a $75,000 bond and ordered not to leave South Carolina. His mother picked him up and took him to the family vacation home at Kiowa Island. I think I'm pronouncing that correctly. Mikey thought about the last 2 months and realized Rob probably wouldn't have betrayed him if Patrick Moffly hadn't been found murdered and surrounded by those GG 249 pills on the first day of spring break.
Well, there you go.
When law enforcement searched Moffly's house after the shooting, they realized his housemates knew more about the Xanax than they were admitting. The lease for Kligman's 43 Gadsden house, which was the stash house, was found among the items during the raid at Moffly's house.
Don't
the
keep
investigation.
The stash. See, this is right. Here's where the white collar world these guys live in crosses over with the underworld that they're operating.
The
in.
lease for the stash house is found at the murder victim's house.
No self-respecting drug dealer is going to
chill.
have paperwork on the trap house, on the stash house, put away in case you need to refer back to the language of the lease. Are you kidding me?
Officers took the housemates to headquarters for a proper conversation, meaning we're doing the interrogation.
Yeah, where we can get you in a room, use all our
bright light in your face.
Yeah, all our interrogation techniques to make you do what we want.
When Patrick died, the fact he was a well-liked student, coupled with his family's stature in the Low Country, and of course combined with the proximity of the crime scene to the College of Charleston quad. You've got all these factors, that his murder became a high-pressure case. Since the Mother Emanuel shooting, this is one of the most high-pressured cases after that shooting that law enforcement felt like they had to solve this murder.
So it's very public. Everyone's talking about it. They feel like they need to do something.
Charleston police knew they needed to find the men who'd killed Patrick Moffly, but also unravel the drug ring that had supplied the GG-249 pills. The Violent Crimes Unit started by investigating Patrick's dying claim that Jordan Piacente and Dollar T robbed me. So she had an alibi. Jordan had flown to New York for a wedding. Less than an hour after the murder, a teacher at an all-girls prep school down the street from 97 Smith said she'd actually seen 3 black men running out of the house, quote, as if they'd robbed a bank, and piled into a sporty red Volkswagen Jetta. It had a green and white dealer tag with the word time on it.
Okay.
So we got a witness. The license plate came from Drive Time Used Cars on the other side of the Ashley River. A recent 2014 red Jetta had been purchased by a 21-year-old named Charles Mungeon III 3 weeks before the murder.
My God. You don't take your car and then go rob and kill people in it, okay?
You don't?
No, you're supposed to steal a car for that. And then you're supposed to burn it afterwards, like in heat.
And I knew you were going to say that.
Well, yeah.
I feel like all things in life, you refer back to the heat.
Well, you can find so many answers to life in heat, like what you should do. Well, if you're a robber, killer person, they show you how you should do it. I mean, honestly,
Okay.
If Val Kilmer being a little bit more mentally stable, he is having issues in the movie in his relationship and stuff. I think he would have had a better outcome.
Maybe he should have sent Charlize down the road.
I mean, she had that little kid, little big-headed kid.
You can't have a lot. I feel like you can't be in a comfortable relationship and live a life of crime. It's just not going to work.
If you can't, you got to be able to walk away from it, right? De Niro's telling you in the movie, you got to be able to walk away. You can't have connections. You got to walk away at any minute. It's the only way to live this type of lifestyle, this Ronin lifestyle, if you will, this lone samurai warrior. I mean, I live like that.
I'm built for that shit.
I am too.
Because I'd leave your ass it wouldn't take me $5 million to leave your ass on the side of the road.
You left me at the Dollar General last week.
Well, don't talk shit.
That's not true, folks. I'm just kidding. She ain't left me recently.
You deserve it every time I drive off and leave you somewhere.
Well, I did. Every time that you did indeed drive off and leave me somewhere.
I have a zero bullshit tolerance. There's a policy, and I've been very upfront with it.
It's in the handbook.
I have a zero tolerance policy for Dylan's bullshit. And
Okay.
so when you fuck around, Dylan,
I found
the
out.
result of that is that you find out.
I found out.
So when you do some dumb shit, I'm just leaving.
Okay.
Because I ain't getting wrapped up in your dumb shit.
Well, I don't do dumb shit now.
Well,
Let's
are
get
you
back
sure?
to the story. This sidebar is uncomfortable.
You
What the fuck?
You brought it up.
Man, fuck that shit.
After a be on the lookout, a few hours later, Mungeon was seen near an overgrown corner of Ashleyville subdivision in the red Jetta. As officers approached him, they saw marijuana located in plain view of the vehicle. So Mungeon is arrested for marijuana possession, and the car is towed downtown for crime scene investigation. When they pulled up the floor mats and the driver's seat, they found 7 of the GG-249 pills kind of wedged under the carpet, but kind of under the seat, because they take the seats out and find these wedged.
Hey, these cats are so willy-nilly with these pills in this story. Most times, people's pills are secured. There's just pills flying all over the room. People's got handfuls of pills. It's falling out of people's pockets. I mean, it just seems like there's too many pills.
Didn't Destiny's Child sing about this problem? Can't keep up with my pills. Got all these pills. Don't pay my bills because I'm buying all the pills.
Is that how that song goes?
No.
Oh.
I just made it up. 2 weeks later, GPS records showed that Mungeon was parked outside of 97 Smith at 3:45 p.m. on March 4th.
May the 4th be with
May
you.
the 4th. Yes. March 4th. Okay, I'm a mushmouth bitch.
Oh, you old mush mouth bitch.
Mungeon's phone number was saved in Patrick's cell under the name T. With Mungeon in custody, police could spend the following months piecing together surveillance evidence and kind of finding out what the motive was for this murder before the case went to trial.
You know, someone called Dollar T sounds like someone who will rob and kill somebody. Would you agree?
Maybe.
Or nowadays it could be a preacher. Well, let's be honest.
Dollar T?
Creelo Dollar, it was one of those preachers.
I don't know who that is.
That
That sounds like a character from like a Rocky movie.
It's real. It's real. I'm not making it up.
His name's Creole Dollar?
Creelo Dollar.
Creelo Dollar. Okay, see, he sounds like Apollo Creed's like fifth cousin on his mama's side.
Yeah.
That come down for the fight and got his ass kicked by Rocky.
Oh, okay. He's the guy who gets hurt, and then the other person has to avenge their being hurt or killed. Okay.
Sure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll see what's
I have
happening.
no idea what you're talking about, but thanks for sharing.
I wouldn't trust anybody named Dollar T.
Still, the Moffly murder case wasn't a self-contained murder investigation. If it had been, then Mikey Schmidt would have never been arrested. After officers found the fake Xanax at the murder scene and in Mungeon's vehicle, they decided to follow the trail of pills to its source.
Like a literal breadcrumb of pills. Trail of pills.
This narcotics investigation had a head start, as a detective had already been exploring the college drug market for 5 months before Patrick's murder. In 2015, Detective Patrick Gill had started working a drug tip about a Citadel cadet named Jake Poshek, son of a former NHL player named Randy Poshek. I know you don't know anything about hockey.
Well, I just know they have sticks and there's a puck.
I've been to a hockey, is it a match?
I think it's called a gathering.
Where they like beating the shit out of each other on the ice. So it's
It's like, let's go, dude.
Pretty dope.
I can watch some hockey.
Some minor league team, and they were just like beating the shit out of each other.
They
I was like, hell yeah, I'm here for this.
They literally have guys, positions on the team called goons. That they're basically not even that good at hockey. They just go out there and beat the shit out of people.
Isn't there a movie?
Yeah.
With what's his face, Stifler?
Yeah.
Yeah. I've never seen it. I just know of it.
But yeah, they're known as goons. That's a position.
I could be a goon.
You could be a great goon, a little goon.
So, back to our story. He had sold substances to one of Gill's informants. In November, a special unit raided Jake's girlfriend's apartment to find a false bottom Arizona tea can, which hid a snorting straw, cocaine, marijuana, and Xanax for a possession with intent to distribute charge. From there, Gill turned the screws, charging the girlfriend for possession and Jake for dealing within a half-mile from a public park.
And also violating an Arizona tea can.
Jake opened up about who had supplied him. Jake was brought in as a confidential informant, a CI, and the Charleston Police Department started looking into Zachary Kligman. When detectives learned that Patrick Moffly's housemate had signed a lease to a rental at 43 Gadsden Street, Detective Gill already knew that address because it was Zach's stash house. They had begun monitoring the stash house back in December when surveillance cameras were set up outside the trap house, the stash house.
Dude, they're getting it all. They're connecting all the pieces.
After the murder, the department made college narcotics a priority. Quote, "There was no real concrete case at first," said Sergeant Todd Hurto, who co-led the operation with Gill. Quote, "They did have some surveillance that was put up, but really what spearheaded this whole thing was the Moffly murder. We were asked to find out who was distributing this stuff throughout the city because there is now a homicide." The evening Patrick died, Kligman's stash house was raided by cops. However, when they went into the house to search, they only found drug residue and an extra space storage lock. Watching the footage, law enforcement learned that around 4:10 p.m., Kligman had arrived at the house carrying pizza boxes inside. At 4:30, a car backed into the driveway. Zach got into the car with the pizza boxes and left. It was only 20 minutes after Patrick Moffly's roommates had called 911.
Oh, wow.
So someone tipped Kligman off.
He certainly caught wind of that something had happened at Patrick or to Patrick's.
We'll get this, Dylan. One of the housemates admitted to tipping off Kligman about Patrick's murder and that they'd called 911 like after they called Kligman.
They called Kligman first. See,
This informant, who was nicknamed Fireball by Detective Gill,
oh God.
texts Zach, quote, "Move your clothes."
So they, I hate that his housemates made some very egregious errors when this transpired. They lost precious time because wasn't Patrick still clinging to life?
Yes.
And they're trying to clean pills up, but they still found the pills. That didn't help. They're calling Klingman and trying to warn him or ask him what should we do. Call 911 and see if you can save your friend's life. Okay, that should have been step one. But they very well could have. That was a very bad errors on their part.
Well, Fireball's admission, combined with the signed lease in his name, gave enough leverage for law enforcement to coerce him into cooperating.
So you think that's because he likes the Fireball liqueur, or is it because
Detective Gill had given all of the players in all these CIs various nicknames. Like one of them was like Hunter S. Thompson.
Or you think it's because he just keeps STDs constantly?
I think the detective is just naming people various code names.
Okay. I'll be like, that's old Big Ears. That's my CI.
I'm going to call you the guy who doesn't shut the fuck up so I can get through my story. How about that? That's going to be your code name.
I don't think that'll fit on a T-shirt.
When they're like the guy who don't shut up, they'll know it's you. Okay. Now, the CI Fireball wore a recording device and had a conversation with Zach Kligman. He was recorded saying, quote, "Thanks for the heads up. I had a brick of blow, $100,000, and like 20 to 40 pounds of weed, plus a bunch of money here. So yeah, texting me saved lives."
Saved lives. I like how he, on the wire, recounted exactly what he had gotten rid of from the stash house. What a dumbass.
The FBI were brought in, as well as the United States Postal Service. Inspectors from the Postal Service were brought in due to Zach's mail order supply chain.
Right.
Mail
fraud.
Another informant told them Kligman had moved his stash to a rental storage unit across the Ashley River. 5 days later, the unit was discovered, and the lease was under the name Daniel Katko, who had used a key card to access the building every day from March 4th through March 18th. Kligman and others were seen carrying boxes to and from the unit at different points all month. A package was seized from the Postal Service that had been dropped off by Kligman, and it contained $25,000 cash.
Damn.
A search warrant was issued on the unit. Inside, there were USB sticks, laptops, notebooks, ledgers, pressure cookers with green residue, spoons with white residue, and a hollowed-out book and 2 firearms.
Literally, like you see in a movie, a hollowed out book with a firearm in it.
A second unit was also searched because they realized this guy Daniel had rented this one unit, but Kligman was seen going into a different unit that was rented by someone else.
Wow.
So a search of the second unit reveals 27 grams of cocaine and nearly 3.5 million Xanax bars, the homemade Xanax bars.
Damn, man.
That they had been pressing. 28 days after Patrick Moffly's murder, Zach Kligman was arrested. Using a canine team, they found MDMA and 169.4 grams of Xanax powder, 25 grams of Molly, firearms, 6,947.62 grams of alprazolam pills. The pills were worth 7 figures, possibly 8 at retail prices.
Wow.
Kligman agreed to give up Eric Hughes, the pill press operation. Hughes had moved from South Carolina to Georgia now, so without being able to make a controlled buy between Hughes and Kligman, Zach offered to inform on some of the others, beginning with Rob.
So, Kligman is singing like a canary.
It all falls down, Dylan.
It all falls down because
it's like dominoes.
These guys don't have heart, you know? That's one thing with like these street gangs and stuff. These cats will do 30 years for each other. They will not tell on each other, period. Ever. And I think it's dumb, but it takes a lot of balls to be like that. and be that hardcore.
To be a no snitch.
Well, just to eat years in jail for your buddy.
I ain't eating no years from no damn body.
Damn.
I ain't doing it.
Well, I'm not going to go on a crime spree with you, Heather, if you're just going to tell everybody about it.
Well, I'm not, going to go on a crime spree with you because
We go on shopping
let's
sprees.
be honest. You're not the partner I'm going to choose for a crime spree.
You're saying I wouldn't be good at it?
No, you're too damn goofy and silly.
Well, that's how I...
And you
that's,
don't have any common sense.
I disarm people. They think I'm stupid, and they don't know.
Well, I know you are. So I'm not picking you, bud.
But I have heart, though.
Look, if I'm going to get in a crime caper, it's going to be with somebody that's really cunning and smart, like my best friend Julie.
But then they're going to take you out because they're your real competition. See, I'm a good sidekick.
You're not.
You never worry about me knocking you off the top.
You're not.
I'm a perfect sidekick.
No.
I can actually.
You would be so sidetracked. Whatever caper we were trying, like a heist, it wouldn't matter. You'd be like Squirrel, and you'd run over here, and you'd be trying to like flex in the mirror and try to get like.
No, that's not
instead
true.
of tying up the people were trying to rob or something, you'd all be like, "Wouldn't you touch it? Wouldn't you touch this muscle?
Don't
right here?"
hurt yourself.
Yeah.
Hey, look, I would forget.
Trying to get people to call you the unit
I would over the radio. You gotta. That's my code name.
again.
But
I'm
look.
not involving you.
I would forget that we were on a caper,
Yeah, I know.
and I would holler at people like I see them from work or something. Hey, how's your wife? I had to look on your face right now. You really wouldn't pick me.
I would never pick you. Look, just sit there and be pretty. We've talked about this before.
I'm not even pretty.
You're just be pretty, okay?
I want to be on the caper.
You be beauty,
I
and I'll be the brains, and you just sit there and be pretty.
I could be the grease man, remember? Remember?
You can't. There's no way you can grease up into tight spaces.
Well, it has to be a big space.
Look, you're still chunky. You can't do that.
I have big shoulders.
There's
That's
no,
not
you're
gonna
not going
change.
to. Yeah, you can't. No.
But what if it's a big space and there's a lot of grease and I get a run and start? Yeah. Never get me out of the space.
I don't even know what situation that this we would need you for this, Dylan.
But when it comes up, you're going to be like, oh my God,
No,
I have the perfect guy
never.
for this.
No, I didn't know.
I have the perfect.
I'm not involving you.
Have you guys heard of the unit? He's always greased up, even when it doesn't call for it.
Again, you're the last person I'm going to involve into my heist team, okay?
Well, just one big heist and we can leave the lifestyle. Isn't that how it always goes? Just one
You are
last-
not the Clyde to my Bonnie. See, if you were, we would end up like Bonnie and Clyde. We'd be shot full of holes, dead. Because
I was going to say it didn't work out for those two.
it'd be your fault. See, you can't deny it. All right, back to our story. On June 8th, Chief Mullen of the Charleston Police Department held a press conference about the college drug operation and the bust. They charged the Kappa Alphas, Mikey Schmidt, Rob Liljeberg, and Jonathan Reams with cocaine trafficking, marijuana possession with intent to distribute, and possession of synthetic marijuana pills. Russell Slicker of the Sigma Alpha Epsilon fraternity was charged for Xanax distribution, and another Sigma Alpha Epsilon, Ben Noss, for possession of marijuana with intent to distribute and possession of Xanax. Daniel Catco, I always said cat cow like I'm doing yoga. Daniel Catco faced 6 different charges for trafficking. Jake Poshik and his girlfriend faced 4 counts, and Zachary Kligman also is facing multiple counts. Rob and Jonathan agreed to testify against Mikey, leaving him in a dangerous place on the college drug informant food pyramid. So he's basically at the bottom.
I want to be up there where the whole grains are.
Zachary Kligman could tell that he got cocaine from Rob and Jonathan, who could in turn say they got it from Mikey. But Mikey knew he couldn't tell on his cartel-linked source in Atlanta and survive.
No, he might not survive just when they catch wind that he's caught up, even if he doesn't open his mouth, because that's the kind of people he's messing with. And I'm sure these investigators in this police department were feeling very intense pressure to solve this, because now you have a murder in, somewhere it typically doesn't happen. And then you have this college and this drug, network directly connected to this college. And the college is full of, some people would argue, white kids, but I'm going to argue it's affluent kids.
It's affluent kids.
Affluent kids with parents who matter and have connections and can call state senators.
This is a big scandal.
It's a big scandal.
And we want to make sure we get this nipped in the bud so it goes away.
Yes, exactly. So I'm sure there's intense scrutiny and pressure on the investigators.
Well, unlike the fraternity guys, Mikey's Atlanta contacts might actually kill an informant.
Yeah.
And he knows this.
Yeah.
Like, he's been with these guys in Atlanta. He knows.
They're not playing.
Yeah. And this is, again, don't fuck with the cartel.
Don't.
Unless
you're providing some kind of service they really need that's not drug related.
Like dry cleaning?
Like if you're a really good plumber and they have like shitty plumbing.
I'm not doing it.
They'll pay a lot of money to come in the middle of the night and get the toilet working.
Look, I'm not going to deal with them cartel turds.
You think the cartel puts that type of pressure on everybody in their life, not just drug contacts? Like, they're just like being extra to the landscaping guy, threatening him and everybody he knows if you don't get the bushes done right?
Maybe.
That'd be intense.
I'm not going to find out. Mikey's attorney, Tim Culp, tried to focus attention on Kligman, who had previous arrests for drug trafficking. Mikey told his attorney that Kligman had been involved in Patrick Moffly's murder, which, Culp is thinking about this, and he's like, well, there are a few reasons to ask if this is true. Kligman had a reason for wanting Moffly dead, because, again, Patrick had been busted selling Zach's cocaine in South Carolina. Patrick was looking at 15 to 30 years if he told them where he'd gotten the drugs, which meant informing on Kligman and the network. During the meetings, Patrick had utilized a lawyer that his parents had hired because Zach had wanted to control Patrick's legal defense and had told him, like, I'll get you a lawyer.
Yeah.
But his parents, were like, no, we're hiring the lawyer.
Yeah, we're going to get an even better lawyer than you were going to get.
And Patrick was afraid of Zach, so afraid of Zach, with this lawyer situation and everything that had happened, that he spent months hiding on his parents' farm.
Right.
And would not go back to Charleston.
He went off the grid, basically.
Yes.
Yeah.
He had returned to campus on March 3rd and was dead the next day. Zach didn't fit the description of the three men seen leaving the 97 Smith Street house in a red Jetta, but Tim Culp believed he had the means and motive to set up a hit. Zach not only sat on top of a multi-million-dollar narcotics operation, but Patrick had indicated that he was afraid of what Zach might do.
And even when the roommates, the housemates there heard him, Patrick being surprised that whoever did this to him, that he knew them, he was comfortable enough with them to be meeting them at his home, at his place where he stays. And he was surprised. It was almost like he never expected this person to turn on him.
Mikey and Culp began their own investigation into Zach Kligman, but that yielded very little information. Culp asked the Charleston Violent Crimes Unit to look further into Kligman, but police were solely focusing on Charles Mungin III and the others who were in the Jetta. Mungin refused to cooperate. Detectives were trying to build a case against him, and they did manage to track down one of the passengers. A 97 Smith housemate picked out 22-year-old John or Johnny Glover as the man he'd seen walking into Patrick's bathroom before hearing the gunshot. After a witness corroborated the ID of this person, a second arrest was broadcast on television. Charleston Police explained the homicide as, quote, a drug robbery gone wrong. During the investigation, detectives learned that Patrick had texted Charles Mungin on the morning of March 4th, Dylan, with, quote, looks like I'll be here if you need anything. I broke my arm in 4 places, so I can't go on the snowboarding trip. Mungin had replied, you got 10,000 bars, question mark. Police theorized that Mungin and the other men had gone to Patrick's house in order to rob him, specifically due to this broken arm. Like, they knew, oh, he's down for the count. He's got a broken arm.
Oh, man, that's dirty.
Well, again, people have said Patrick was the kind of guy that even with a broken arm, he would still fight you.
Right. He's
Scrappy.
Scrappy, yeah.
So when he had tried to fight back, they had killed him. It made sense given the bag of pills thrown on the floor, the commotion heard on the stairs, and the information that Patrick would be willing to fight even with a broken arm.
Right. So they thought he'd be a pushover and they could do this quick score, and he fought. I mean, it's just almost in his nature to fight.
Yet this
back.
narrative didn't appease Mikey Schmidt, Tim Culp, or the other people in Patrick's life who repeatedly told law enforcement to look further into Zachary Kligman. When Patrick's sister Sarah had arrived at the hospital while he was in surgery, a detective asked if anyone would want him dead. She told him, quote, "The Charleston kingpin, Zach Kligman." Patrick's friend Summer McNary, now she's the one who had recorded the Snapchat on the day he was killed,
Right.
told officers twice that she believed Kligman had set Patrick up. A detective told David Moffly, quote, "We're familiar with Kligman, but he's not the guy."
See, it's funny that all these people around Patrick who knew Patrick and kind of knew the players do suspect Kligman very strongly. More than one person. You know, why do you think that is? Do you think it's just because he was an asshole or gave off an air that he was a bad person or something? As far as Kligman possibly having done this?
Well, no, I think it makes the most sense to people who are in the know.
Yeah, I know, right?
Yeah, the author Max Marshall, who wrote the book that was my main resource for this episode, found no statements relating to Zach in any of the unredacted homicide packet on Patrick Moffly's murder. So law enforcement, even though they're being told by various people to look into Kligman, they're not even making notes about it in the case file.
That's weird.
They're just completely disregarding this tip and not investigating it at all.
Well, and that could be they have their theory in their head ironed out.
I think we know.
Tunnel vision. And if it doesn't support that, they discount the information. Yeah, that could be the problem.
Charles Mungeon III's trial began in September of 2019. His attorney, Jason Michael, had never tried a murder before. He was mostly a DUI attorney. But from the summer of 2016 up until 2019, he had managed to negotiate a plea deal for his client. Since it was a circumstantial case, Michael had gotten the sentence knocked down to 10 years for voluntary manslaughter. Yet Mungeon declined this offer. Despite the family's pleas for him to take the deal, Charles Mungeon III said he wasn't serving time for a crime he didn't commit. Over the next 3 days, the district attorney called in 35 witnesses for the prosecution. The police never had a murder weapon or direct witness to the killing, so the DA focused on Mungeon's digital footprint. Mungeon had organized a 10,000 pill order on the morning of the murder, and cell tower geolocation suggested that Mungeon drove around picking up accomplices before the meeting with Patrick. Surveillance footage captured by various cameras around town showed the red Jetta all the way up 290 Smith Street just minutes before the murder. GPS in the car showed the pattern of his trip around the town. Every time he stopped, it sent notifications to drive time.
My gosh.
In addition, recording devices at the jail caught a conversation between Mungeon and his girlfriend in which he says, quote, "Hey, make sure you tell Granny, my mama, and all of them my name is Charles because they're looking for a nickname. No T or Trey or nothing, just Charles."
Yeah, we're looking for Chuck. Anybody seen Chuck?
Well, if you recall, Patrick told an officer, "Dollar T shot me."
Yeah.
Jordan Piasante was called to the stand, and she admitted that she did know someone named T. She and Patrick had met T at the Silver Dollar Bar on King Street in the fall of 2015. After that, she had contacted T for Xanax a few times. On the day Patrick was killed, she admitted that she had spoken to T, who offered her Xanax for, quote, $2 a pop.
Oh, so it's a buy one, get one.
A
Xanax sell, if you will.
She also pointed to Charles Mungeon III as the person who went by T. Patrick had nicknamed him Dollar T because they'd met him at that bar, the Silver Dollar. So he started calling him Dollar T.
And that's why it was in his phone under Dollar T.
Yep.
Okay.
No one questioned Jordan. You remember her name was Spicy?
Yeah, I remember.
No one questioned Old Spicy about why she had given inconsistent statements to police about traveling to New York on the day Patrick was killed. She had said once it was for a wedding, then another time she told law enforcement she'd gone to New York for a baptism. Jordan originally told police she didn't remember texting Charles Mungeon III on March 4th. No one asked her about how her cell phone had fallen into the Atlantic Ocean before the DEA had a chance to look through it.
Hey, I mean, things happen with phones, Heather. You know? I mean, you could have been on a chartered boat or something.
After the prosecution rested their case, Mungeon's attorney did not call a single witness.
I don't know how confident I would be feeling about my defense.
The next day, they both presented their closing arguments. Now, South Carolina has a hand of one, hand of all principle, which says if a person is murdered during the commission of another crime, like a robbery, any accomplice, even if they didn't pull the trigger, is guilty of murder.
Yeah, and this is common law. Many states have this very law. And a lot of people are just like, oh, my gosh.
Well, I'm in for it.
Oh
I
my,
think it's fine.
Oh, my gosh. They didn't do the bad part, but they set the robbery up, or they didn't do this, or like in instances where women will lure a guy somewhere with the promise of touching their pee-pee or whatever, and then, setting them up for other people to rob them. I'm fine with that law.
I am too.
I am totally fine with it, because you know how you don't get caught up in that?
Don't do dumb shit.
Don't do dumb shit.
Don't do crimes.
Don't do crimes, and don't help people do crimes.
A+, Dylan.
See, I'm back, baby.
Charles Mungeon III needed only to set up the robbery to be found guilty of Moffly's murder. Less than 3 hours later, the jury foreman announced the verdict: guilty. The Moffleys would say, after this trial, they were overheard saying in the courtroom, now there have been 2 lives ended.
Ah.
Kligman, who didn't want to speak with author Max Marshall, only had to say, quote, I'm regretful, very regretful. I'm also sad about what happened to Patrick. He was one of my best friends. I should also mention, Dylan, we talked a little bit about Patrick's funeral.
Yeah.
The Moffleys actually spent $70,000 on it, and it was not really a funeral. It was more like a big blowout party.
Oh, well, it was their version of a celebration of life. And
it definitely was. Everybody said Patrick would have approved.
Okay, well, I guess you get to do stuff like that when you have a lot of money. I think it's crazy to spend a ton of money on any funerals. I really do think it should just be a gathering of friends and family, remembering the good times for the most part. Or you can all get together and talk about what an asshole they was.
I don't want anybody together.
And it's okay to still talk, be like, I'm sorry they died, but they were a real asshole.
That's fine. You can say that about me. Mikey Schmidt was spending the summer awaiting trial at his family's beach house, which I mentioned, but he caught mono. So he was sick, losing weight, feeling low energy, not doing very well. Mikey, they say mono is the kissing disease.
Yeah, I was going to say, who's he been kissing?
Keep your tongue in your mouth, Mikey.
Have you ever had mono?
No.
Yeah.
I've known people who've had mono.
Dude, they disappear out of school for like 2 months.
I had a friend and her son ended up with mono somehow and was like down for the count for like a while.
Yeah. It's
like
pretty
this
heavy.
Poor kid, he was not doing too well. Hurricane Matthew came through, which gave him a chance to evacuate South Carolina, which meant he could go to Atlanta. And he was hoping a judge might let him stay there until the trial. Mikey's parents made him start seeing a psychologist during this time. He also found work for a personal injury attorney through his friend Biscuit.
Biscuit. I knew Biscuit had all the right connections.
The charges against Jake Poshek's girlfriend were dropped, and Mikey was hopeful that meant more charges were going to fall off for the drug ring members. Like, law enforcement's already starting to kind of make a deal.
Right. Well, and they charged everybody in sight, and now they've gotten all the information they want. They've got everything, put together. The cases have working themselves out, so maybe they are not so intent on pressuring people with charges, because a lot of times that's what they do.
The Sigma Alpha Epsilon Ben Naus received a suspended sentence and 5 years probation.
I got lucky.
Jake Poshek and Jonathan Reams got off with probation too. In the 2 years since the bust, the only member of the narcotics network to get any real jail time was Zachary Kligman's associate Daniel Katko, who was a repeat offender. He got a 3.5-year sentence for 6 narcotic charges, but he only ended up serving about 15 months. Our dog is snoring so loudly.
Oh,
Do you
him
hear
so
over there?
cool.
If you guys hear weird noises in the mic, I think it's just Rufus snoring. The next summer, Kligman got arrested in Myrtle Beach. So while he's waiting for trial, he has this mountain of charges. He goes back home to Myrtle Beach, gets arrested again.
Okay.
This guy, I mean, he's just in it. He's in it, Dylan. He's not going to not do this.
He's hardcore.
His house was raided. Police found 717 THC carts or cartridges, 29.4 pounds of marijuana, and a multitude of edible THC products like gummies and candies. And
Oh, so he's moved into the marijuana market now.
he ends up getting 2 years probation for the Xanax and cocaine,
How?
even though he has had multiple arrests.
Now, I've
over
got
the
to
years.
say, this is one of those instances. If this whole network had been young black men headed up by an older black gentleman, these sentences would have been heavier.
We know that.
They would have been heavier, and I know it.
We all know that.
Or if it had just been a bunch of poor trailer white boys, it would have been worse.
So while the others got off without jail time, the district attorney, Stephanie Linder, was not willing to work with Mikey Schmidt. She had no interest in Tim Culp's theories that Zachary Kligman was responsible for Patrick's murder. Upon his attorney's advice, Mikey agreed to plead guilty if he could have 60 days to report to jail. Mikey was given a 10-year sentence.
Yes.
So in this 60 days, Mikey is working out. Now, he's a little guy.
Oh, so he's getting ready for
But he's
jail.
like working out and beefing up and like doing everything he can to try to get ready for jail.
To protect himself.
On May 1st of 2019, Mikey entered the Kirkland Correctional Institution in Columbia, South Carolina. After he'd been processed, he went to use the prison payphone. An inmate approached with what looked like a knife, so Mikey slammed the phone in the guy's face. He was put into lockdown.
Damn.
In July, Mikey was transferred to the Wateree River Correctional Institute in Sumter County, South Carolina. Rob was sentenced under the Youthful Offender Act. He would live in a special prison reserved for youthful inmates, and although he was given 6 years, he served less than 24 months. Upon release, Rob got a job working at a diabetic medical supply company. Mikey's time in prison, according to author Max Marshall, has been frightening, with the inmate discussing, quote, a bloodbath he witnessed with knives and axes while prison guards ran the other way.
Jeez.
He said he would need therapy after serving his sentence. During a text, because apparently Mikey has a cell phone, a lot of inmates have this contraband in prison. Mikey's got a cell phone. He texts the author, quote, it will be a miracle from God if I make it out of here.
Man, it's almost like you shouldn't commit crimes. No, but I wonder, you don't ask Mikey how he got that cell phone either.
You don't?
Don't.
Why? What does that mean?
Because how you think I got it in there?
Well, it's other people smuggling stuff, bro.
I'm saying, don't ask them how they got it in there.
All right, so my main resource today was a book called Among the Bros, a fraternity crime story by author Max Marshall. I also referred to a New York Times article, a Vanity Fair article, The Guardian, and there are quite a few other like local news stories that reported on the murder and the drug bust as it happened.
Man, I can't believe I haven't heard about this. I've really never even, I don't remember when this happened. I don't remember any of it. Do you?
No.
I mean, this was a big deal.
No, I was actually thinking about around the time this happened, being in Charleston.
Really?
Around, yeah, like in 2015, being in Charleston, in some of the areas where the stash houses were and that kind of thing. and just thinking like, wow, this was happening. Like there was Xanax everywhere down here and I didn't even know it.
Yeah, you could have got one of them pills down there by old
Well,
Klingman.
I wouldn't have bought a pill,
Yeah, well, you could have.
but I guess I could have if I wanted to.
It's true. Well, thank you for the
So it kinda had
story.
me thinking about that.
It was a great two-parter. There was a lot of information. You did a wonderful job as usual of breaking it down for us lay listeners. And I sure do appreciate it, Heather. And I also want to give another shout out and thank you to the sponsors of today's show, our newest patrons. Thank you so much for your support.
Well, if you haven't had a chance to listen to our most recent listener stories episode that we dropped a few days ago, it's great. Check it out.
It was wonderful.
Yeah.
So much fun.
It's good.
I even went back and listened to it.
It's a good episode, so make sure you check that out. And of course, we'll be back sometime this week.
Yeah. There you go. That's our most able to be kept promise we've ever made to listeners.
Recapping some true crime news for you, and then we have a case coming up this weekend that it's one, Dylan, that I have kind of always been very fascinated by the case and the crime, and I'm looking forward to discussing it with you.
I don't even know what's next.
You do know what's next.
Do I?
Yes.
Okay.
You just can't remember shit from 1 minute to the next.
You think I have a problem?
I mean, I've just been carrying the book around
What
for 2
book?
weeks, and we watched like some kind of American Justice episode. I mean,
yeah.
you just can't remember, can you?
No.
I know.
I think there's something wrong with me.
I know there's something wrong with you, bud.
Oh, my God. So while we figure that out, we're going to go.
Yes. If you guys know what's wrong with Dylan, you can always send us an email, mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. Also, if you've ever had mono, hit us up at mountainmurders@gmail. That thing.
mountainmurderspodcast@gmail.com.
Yeah. I would be curious to know how it felt, like how bad it was. Honestly.
I imagine it's got to be a lot like living with you. Just no improvement.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna
Just constant slugging through.
I'm gonna get out of here while I got just a little bit of dignity left.
No dignity. Dylan, you better back it up.
No diggity, no doubt. Bye.
I like the way you work it.
I'm gone.
Bye, Dylan.
See ya.